handing out chips individually. Siddartha is not impressed with the masked Hideous Blob's antics. The Blob shaking belly now, has the ref in a compromising way. Just wanting to share with the ref, the Blob, such a gentle soul. The bell now sounding out here at Elements. The ref trying to take those chips away from the Blob. But the Blob just wants to eat. Sounds the bell again. The Blob now. Siddartha not impressed, trying to force feed the Prince of Power. Apparently the Prince isn't hungry, catching the Blob now at the wind-up with a chip. The Prince of Power crushing it with one hand. The Blob is devastated. He doesn't know what to make. He thought he was going to share chips and make friends, but this is the Pure Wrestling Association, and now powering the Blob down with one hand. The Prince of Power now taking the bag of chips and popping it. Crumbs everywhere in the ring. The Blob is now enraged. He doesn't like to see food wasted, but the Prince of Power catches him with a huge clothesline. One slipper is off the Blob now. Siddartha taking the Blob to the corner. Big shoulder block to the gut of the Blob. Does that hurt, Belly? Does that hurt the Blob? One can only tell. Here's a hip toss now. The Prince of Power. He means business. Prince of Power, the name for a reason, taking the huge Blob now with a hip toss as the Kitchener fans get behind the Blob. Front face lock now, several knees measuring the Blob in the stomach. Oh, DDT out of the corner. The Blob is now mangled on the apron. The Blob, like we said, such a gentle soul, not sure if he was ready for a match with the Prince of Power. Siddartha now, picking up the Blob. Whip into the other corner. The Blob hard into the far corner here at Elements. And another whip in. The Blob feeling the effects of that one. Prince of Power very confident. Thinks he's got him right where he wants him. Whips him into the far corner again. And again, the huge clothesline. The Blob now turning the tide. One bare foot, one slipper. The Blob. Oh, just when you thought he was mounting some offense, the Prince measures him with a clothesline. The Prince of Power looking at that big guy upstairs, looking for some sign here to put away, do away with the Blob. Choking the Blob now. The Blob with no slippers on. The Blob in a real bad way here against the Prince of Power. I said at the start of the match, Prince of Power hasn't faced anyone like the mass Hideous Blob, but the Blob never even had a chance to begin, just wanted to share chips. The fans now getting behind Belly and the Blob. A forearm to the back takes the Blob down to the canvas. The Prince of Power rolling the Blob over now. Here's a pinfall. 2 count only, pulls the Blob up. He wants to punish him some more. Siddartha, the Prince of Power, has no respect for the Blob or where he stands in the Pure Wrestling Association. Working over the Blob now. And the ref who is trying to open up those fists, the Prince of Power might just manhandle him too. The Blob rolling in the chip crumbs now. The Prince now looking to scoop up the Blob, doesn't know if he should do it. Looks him over for a big scoop slam. Prince of Power, he's got that name for a reason, to slam the massive Blob. I don't know if anyone's yet to do that here in the PWA. Obviously the Blob feeling the effects of the Prince of Power. Black Siddartha very confident now. Black Siddartha measures up with a big elbow but misses. The Blob rolling out of the way in the nick of time. And again, the Blob rolling to the apron. The Blob, here he comes, maybe getting his second wind. The Blob rakes the eyes of the Prince, slapping him in the face, pie-facing him. Chops to the chest of the Prince, but to no avail. The Prince stands there with no effect. The Blob now, too winded, and shoved over by the Prince of Power. Third match here at Extreme Elements, Friday the 13th, 2007. This is Chris Crucifix. Here's a big double choke sit-out powerbomb. Prince of Power doesn't need to hook the legs because that's all she wrote. The Blob. Black Siddartha, the Prince of Power, is victorious. Well, I don't know what to say. The fan favorite the fan favorite, the Mass Hideous Blob, just dominated by the Prince of Power. Means business, and the pennies over the eyes. The fan favorite now, the bizarre one, the Blob. I don't think I've seen anyone manhandle the Blob in the PWA quite like Black Siddartha.